Hi, good evening, everyone. Please confirm that I'm audible and you can see this slide. Yes, guys, please confirm. Can you hear me? Can we get started? Okay, great. So let's get started. In this session, we are going to talk about, as you know, profit and loss previous year CAT questions. Okay. So in this series, we are covering obviously previous year CAT questions of various chapters. In the last session, we covered ratio proportion. So here we are going to cover profit and loss. Now, how important is the topic profit and loss? What is the weightage of this topic? What are the skills required? Well, if we look at the last 4 or 5 years, CAT papers, 2020 and 2021, there were just about one or two questions. 2022, there were two questions. 2023, there was a question in each slot. In fact, one of the slots had two questions. Then 2024, again, each slot had a question. And 2025, again, each slot had a question. So basically, if we talk about 2023 onwards, the last 3 years, 2023, there were four questions, one, two, and one. 2024, there were three questions, one, one, and one. 2025, there were three questions, one, one, and one. So basically, we can say that generally each slot is getting one question from profit and loss chapter. Now, considering the total number of quant questions is just 22 and the cutoff is just around 14, 15 marks, even one question is a pretty decent weightage or percentage here, right? Profit and loss as a topic is nothing but application of percentages. Okay. So along with some other topics which we can consider application of percentages, one of them is profit and loss, right? So what I need to know to be able to crack profit and loss questions is my concepts of percentages should be clear if I have command on ratio even greater, because there will be quite a few questions where I can use the shortcut and that shortcut would generally involve ratio. And I should know the terminology related with profit and loss. So I should understand terms like not only profit and loss, but also cost price, selling price, overheads, mark price, okay, discount. So I should be well versed with the terminology and I should know my basics of percentages, and we can do great in profit and loss questions. Okay, so let's get started and let's look at the first question we have picked up. I have tried to pick up a mix of questions here where we can see some multiple ways of solving and also those where there is a proper equation method of solving, because we do get both kind of questions. Okay, so while it is easy to just pick questions where a lot of magic, a lot of wow methods, multiple methods can be shown. But the fact is that many a times we do get questions which have to be done in the normal equation method. So I've tried to take a mix of both. Let's get started. This is our first question. Now, as you can see, what this says is the selling price of a product is fixed to ensure 40% profit. If the product had cost 40% less and had been sold for 5 rupees less, then the resulting profit would have been 50%. The original selling price in rupees of the product is. Now, there are multiple ways we can solve this. We can obviously assume cost price as X. So let us say cost price is X. So then they are saying selling price is fixed to ensure 40% profit, which means selling price will be nothing but cost price plus profit. So 40% of X. Okay, so if we simplify this, this is 7 by 5X. Okay, if the product had cost 40% less, so the new cost price is going to be X minus 40% of X. So that is nothing but 3 by 5X. And the product had been sold for 5 rupees less. So the new selling price will be 5 rupees less than the original selling price. So if I take LCM, this is nothing but 7x minus 25 upon 5, right? Now, what will be profit? Profit is nothing but difference between selling price and cost price. So profit in this case is going to be, profit is going to be new selling price, which is 7x minus 25 upon 5, minus new cost price, which is 3 by 5x, right? So this is nothing but 4x minus 25 upon 5. What is profit percentage? Profit percentage is profit upon cost price into 100, right? This gets cancelled. This is given as 50, which means if I just take this 100 on the other side, we are saying 4x minus 25 upon 3x is equal to 1 by 2. So let us just solve that. 4x minus 25 upon 3x is equal to 50 by 100 or 1 by 2, which means we are saying 8x minus 75, or sorry, minus 50, 25 into 2 is going to be 50. So 8x minus 50 is equal to 3x, or 5x is 50, x is 10. Okay, is 10 my answer? 10 I can see in the options. It's the first option. So if you see, the question is actually asking me the original selling price, and x is what we had assumed as the cost price, which means this will be my answer. So what is the answer? 7 by 5 into 10, which is nothing but 14 rupees, right? So the selling price of the product is going to be 14 rupees. This is our first method, the first way of solving. And what have we used? We've used the X method. Many of us are pretty comfortable using the X method only, but as far as possible, try avoid using the X method in the arithmetic questions, which means if this is clear, let me know. We can look at another way of solving this question. Okay, great. So now let's have a look at another method. So basically, the first thing that I'm going to do is just get rid of x over here and not really look at another method, which means we'll just try to solve, instead of assuming x as the cost price, percentage profit and loss questions when the original value is unknown. What is the assumption? Generally, it's 100. So instead of assuming the cost price as x, let us assume the cost price is 100. Let the cost price is 100 rupees. So in that case, because we are ensuring 40% profit, profit will be 40% of 100 rupees, which is 40 rupees. So the selling price will be 100 plus 40, that is 140 rupees, right? Now, if the product had cost 40% less, so the new cost price will be 40 rupees less than 100 rupees, 60 rupees. Okay. Now they say that the product had been sold for 5 rupees less. Now please understand that percentage, when we are talking about, we can take any base. We are talking about 40%. If I'm taking 100, my 40% will be 40. If I'm taking 10, it will be 4. If I'm taking 1000, it will be 400. But 5 rupees in absolute value. So I should not introduce the selling price 5 rupees less here and make it 140 minus 5, 135. I should rather go to the next step. So what this says is, which is again a percentage. Okay. So it says profit would be 50%. Now we know profit is calculated on cost price. So if cost price is 60, what will be the new profit? It is going to be 50% of 60 rupees. And that is nothing but 30 rupees. So what is selling price? Selling price is cost price plus profit. So it will be 90 rupees, right? Now we can say that, okay, the original selling price was 140 and the final selling price is 90. So how much is the reduction? How much is the difference in selling price? So difference in selling price is 50 rupees. Difference in selling price is 50 rupees. And in this case, my cost price, my assumed cost price is 100 rupees. But the given difference in selling price is only 5 rupees. It is not 50 rupees. So if the difference in selling price becomes 5 rupees, and you can understand that 5 is nothing but 1/10 of 50. So the required cost price will also be 1/10 of 100. So how much is the required cost price? Just cross multiply 5 into 100 upon 50. And that is nothing but 10 rupees. So the required cost price is 10 rupees. What is the selling price then? See, cost price 10. We are selling it at 40% profit. Selling price will be 10 plus 4, 14 rupees. This is the answer. So very similar method to the previous one, but there are no variables involved and I don't really have to deal with fractions like 7 by 5x and something minus 25 upon 5. Those kind of fractions we can easily get rid of. We just assume the cost price as 100. So this is a second way of solving. If this is clear, let me know. We can move on to the third method of solving. Is this clear, everybody? Okay, great. So let's have a look at another way of solving this. Okay. So there's one more thing that we can do. He's saying selling price of a product is fixed to ensure 40% profit, which means what is the first selling price? Okay, it is 140% of cost price. If I am selling something at, let's say, 40% profit, I'm selling it at 140% of its value. So first selling price is 140% of the cost price. Now they are saying that let's look at another cost price, which is 40% less. So which means the second cost price, CP2, is 60% of CP1. And on that, we are making 50% profit. If you are selling something at 50% profit, you are selling it at 150% of cost price, right? So just now, this is the ratio of the selling prices, but I have cost price in the original cost price in the numerator and the change cost price in the denominator. But I know the relation between the two. CP2 is nothing but 60% of CP1. So which means I can replace this. So I can say this is nothing but 140% of the cost price upon 150% of 60% of cost price, right? So 150% of 60% is nothing but 90%. So this ratio is 140% of cost price upon 90% of the same cost price, right? Now, because the cost price is the same, we can talk about the difference between numerator and denominator. How much is this difference? 140% and 90%. This is nothing but 50% of the cost price. And how much is this? This is given to us. This is 5 rupees, which means 50% of the cost price is 5 rupees, which means how much is the cost price? 10 rupees. Cost price will be 50% means half. So half of the cost price, 5 rupees. So how much is the cost price? 5 into 2, 10 rupees. And once we get the cost price, selling price 140% of cost price or 40% profit. So what is 40% of 10 rupees? It is 4 rupees, which means the selling price will be 10 plus 4, 14 rupees. So this is the third way of solving. Now, if this is clear, let us see if we could have done something more in this question or something else in this question to get the answer. So is this clear, everybody? Does anyone have any doubts in this? Has everybody understood this? If you understand, you can just let me know through the chat and we can move on. Okay, great. So let us see if we could have done something more here. If you see, the selling price of a product is fixed to ensure 40% profit. Okay, so if you are selling something at 40% profit, your selling price is 140% of the cost price, which means it is of the form 140 upon 100 times of cost price, or let's say 7 by 5 times of cost price. Right? Now, from here, if the values are integral, let's say, the selling price looks like to be a multiple of 7. Okay, it seems like the selling price is going to be a multiple of 7. Right? There is only one option out of the 4, which is a multiple of 7. So what I can do is, instead of solving this question, I can just start with 14 rupees and see if that is the correct answer. So if I just put this as 14, because that is the only multiple of 7, then from here, I will get my cost price as 10. I'm getting my cost price as 10 rupees. Okay, and now what are they saying? If the product had cost 40% less, that means 6 rupees is the new cost price, and sold for 5 rupees less, 14 minus 5, 9 rupees. What is the profit? It's 50%. Is 9 upon 6 1.5? Yes, it is. Which means, just going by the options, we thought that, it should be a multiple of 7, because 7 is not really getting cancelled anywhere. So if the values are integral, it would be a multiple of 7. There is only one option, which is a multiple of 7. So let me check with that. And when we check with that, it does satisfy the last condition given here, which means without solving anything, just using options also, we could have concluded that the selling price is 14 rupees. So you can see that we have looked at 3 or 4 different ways of solving this question. If we call x and 100 as the same method, then also we've looked at 3 different ways of solving this question. So is this clear, everyone? Does anybody have a doubt here? If you have a doubt, please let me know and we'll discuss. Anybody who has a doubt, please let me know. Otherwise, just let me know that you've understood and we can move on to the next question. So just put a Y in the chat and we can move ahead. Is this clear, everybody? Okay, great. So let's move on to the next question. So this is our next question here. Okay. And you can see that this is CAT 2017, slot 1. So what it says is, if Fatima sells 60 identical toys at a 40% discount on the printed price, then she makes 20% profit. 10 of these toys are destroyed in fire. While selling the rest, how much discount should be given on the printed price so that she can make the same amount of profit? Now, there are again multiple ways we can solve this. So I'm calling the X method and the 100 method the same because basically only difference is we assume 100 and we assume X. So let us first see the basic method of solving when you assume X or 100. So Fatima sells 60 identical toys at 40% discount on the printed price. So let us suppose the printed price or marked price as 100 rupees per article. Okay. Now, she is selling at 40% discount. So 40% of 100 rupees will be 40 rupees. Okay. Which means the selling price will be 60, 100 minus 40, mark price minus discount. And she is selling 60 articles. So total sale will be 60 into 60, 3,600 rupees. Right? Now, this gives her 20% profit. So if you are selling something at 20% profit, that means whatever is your total selling price or total sale, it is actually 120% of the total cost price. Which means from here, we can solve for the total cost price. We cross multiply. We can say total cost price is, we can say total cost of the articles is 3,600 into 5 upon 6. That is nothing but 3,000 rupees. Right? This is the total cost price. Now it says 10 of these articles get destroyed in fire. While selling the rest, how much discount should be given on the printed price or on the marked price so that she can make the same amount of profit? Now, cost price is not changing. If something gets destroyed, it doesn't change the cost price, right? Cost price is the same. Also, because we are looking for the same amount of profit, the sales also remain the same. Which means I still want to make 3,600 rupees on 3,000 rupees. But because 10 of the articles are lost, now I want to realize 3,600 rupees from 50 articles. 60 minus 10 is 50. So now I want to sell 50 articles and still make 3,600 rupees. This is the total sales still, right? Which means what is the selling price per article? What is the selling price per article? It is nothing but 3,600 rupees upon 50, which is 72 rupees. Selling price per article is 72 rupees. Mark price per article is 100 rupees. How much is the discount that she is offering? Because our mark price is 100, whatever is the difference in mark price and selling price, also the percentage of discount. So how much is the discount? It's 100 minus 72, which means 28. And 28 of 100 will be 28% only, which means 28% is the required discount. Option 4 is the answer. Okay. Is this clear? Guys, let me know if this is clear and we can look at another way of solving this. Let's see if there is any other method we can use here. Okay. Has everybody understood this? Just a Y on the chat and we can go ahead. Is this clear? Has everybody understood? Okay, great. So let's look at another way of solving this. So we are going to make use of the lever rod here, which is another variation of the allegation diagram, right? First thing that we can notice here is that she makes 20% profit, but whatever profit she makes, it doesn't matter that much because ultimately she wants to make the same profit. Which means the question is based on discount and not so much on profit here. And keeping that in mind, there are two more ways we can solve. Just keeping this underlying text in mind, there are two more ways we can solve this. So one is I can say that on 10 of the toys, they were destroyed. So which means in a way we can say that they have been given for free, right? There's nothing that is raised from those toys. So on 10 of the toys, the discount is 100%. They're going for free, 100% discount, right? On the remaining 50 toys, how much discount should be offered? This is the question, right? overall, what she wants to do is, initially she had this plan of giving 40% discount, and because she is raising the same money, she's making the same profit. Ultimately, the average is going to come down to 40% discount only. Ultimately, the average on all 60 toys is going to come down to 40% discount only, right? So if you just look at the ratio of toys that she's selling in the two cases, that ratio is 5:1, 50:10. Okay, which means this ratio, the difference between the percentage of discount that is offered in the first case from the average to the percentage of discount that is offered in the second case from the average, this ratio will be the reverse of this 5:1 ratio. So this ratio is going to be 1:5. And we are just using the weighted average formula here. Let's say P2 minus P upon P minus P1 is equal to the ratio of quantity. Same formula we are using in the form of a diagram. Okay, so which means this ratio is going to be 1:5. Now, is anything known here? Yes, this difference is known. 40% and 100%. How much is the difference? 60%. 60% is 5 parts. 60% is 5 parts. So one part will be how much? So 1 into 60 divided by 5, 12%. Okay, and please remember that we are going towards the lower value. So basically 40 minus 12. So how much is 40 minus 12? It is 28%. This is the answer. This is the second way of solving this question, making use of the weighted average formula in the form of a lever rod diagram, right? So again, another good way of solving this question. Now, there is an even smarter way of solving this question. As I said, as I have underlined here, that profit is actually out of the equation, out of the picture, because 20% profit in certain, in terms of rupees, a certain amount of profit, but same amount she is raising here. So because the profit is the same, it doesn't really matter. I can just focus on discount and get my answer. How much is the discount she is offering here? Okay, so let us look at another way of solving this. How much is the discount she is offering? 40% on 60 articles. So I can say that she is offering 2400% discount, right? Obviously, you can't offer more than 100% discount. Otherwise, the article becomes free at 100% discount. But we are talking about 60 articles here. So we can say that she's offering 2400% discount, right? Now, because she has the same cost, she has the same sales, the discount will be the same in the second case also. 10 articles are destroyed, which means she's giving them for free, which means she's offering 100% discount here. So on 10 of the articles, the discount is 100%. Okay. On the remaining 50 articles, let us say the discount is D%, then this total discount, 10 into 100 plus 50 into D, which is in the second case, this should be the same as the first case. Which means if I just solve this, what we are saying is 2400 is equal to 1000 plus 50D, which means 50D is equal to 1400 and D is equal to 28%. So these are the three different ways by which you can solve this question. If all the three methods are clear, just let me know and we can go to the next question here. Has everybody understood? Has everyone understood? Just give me a Y or a yes over here and we can go on to the next question. Has everybody understood this? If you have any questions, any doubts, you can always put in the chat and we'll discuss. Okay, great. So let's go to the next question. So now first question we saw by some 4 different methods. Second question we saw by some 3 different methods. But when you look at this question here, okay, this is a CAT 2007 question when we used to have pen and paper CAT. And you will see that there are not too many ways that you can use. So let's look at the question. What does it say? Mr. David manufactures and sells a single product at a fixed price in a niche market. The selling price of each unit is 30 rupees. On the other hand, the cost in rupees of producing X unit is 240 plus BX plus CX square. So which means the cost of producing X articles is dependent on X. How many articles you are producing, that is going to decide the cost of the production. And selling price is 30 rupees per article that you produce, where B and C are some constants. Now, to help us find out the value of B and C, 2 conditions are given. Mr. David noticed that doubling the daily production from 20 to 40 unit increases the daily production cost by 66 whole 2 by 3%, which means 2/3. However, an increase in daily production from 40 to 60 unit results in an increase of only 50%, which means half in the daily production cost. Assume that demand is unlimited and Mr. David can sell as much as he can produce. His objective is to maximize the profit. What is the maximum daily profit that Mr. David can realize from his business? And there was a second part to the question. Um, yeah. How many unit should Mr. David produce daily? So there are two parts to the question. One is how many units should he produce for maximum profit, and what is that maximum profit that he can realize? So how do we solve this? See, first thing is that X is the number of unit that he's producing, and we have to find out at how many unit production does he maximize his profit. But other than X, also there are two unknowns here, B and C. So first, let's try to find out the value of B and C. There are two unknowns, and the value for them is given to us. Okay, 20 to 40, the equations are given basically. So using the equations, we will be able to find the value of B and C. So let us first write the equations for these. We are first producing 20 articles. Then we are producing 40 articles. Then we are producing 60 articles, which means we'll be able to write equations for them. And then from there, the percentage increase in cost is known. Solving simultaneously, we can get the values of B and C. So let us first focus on this. If you are producing 20 articles, that means X is equal to 20, right? So let's put X equal to 20 in this equation. So we can say that cost of 20 articles, cost of producing 20 articles is going to be how much? Putting X as 20, it's going to be 400C plus 20B plus 240. Yeah. Likewise, we can write the cost of producing 40 articles, and we can also write the cost of producing 60 articles. So if I look at cost of 40 articles, X will be 40. So 40 square, 1600. 1600C plus 40B plus 240. This is the cost of producing 40 articles. And if we want to find the cost of producing 60 articles, we have to put X is equal to 60. So 3600C, right, plus 60B plus 240. Okay. The percentage increase in cost is known. Now, if you are well versed with the percentage fraction equivalence, then probably don't really have to look at the increase and then find out the percentage increase and so on. If something increases by 66 sold 2 by 3, that means 2/3. The ratio of the new quantity to the original quantity is basically 5:3. Something increases by 50%. The ratio of the new quantity to the original quantity is 3/2. So instead of really focusing on profit and then profit percentage, we can just focus on this ratio. So we can say that the ratio of price, cost price, when producing 40 articles to 20 articles, that will be 5/3. Okay, so which means we are saying equation 2 upon equation 1 is 5/3. 1600C plus 240B, 40B, 1600C plus 40B plus 240. 1600C plus 40B plus 240 upon 400C plus 20B plus 240. This is equal to 5/3, right? So if we cross multiply and simplify this, what are we saying? 4800C plus 120B plus 720 is equal to 2000C plus 100B plus 1200, right? Which means from here, what we are saying is 2800C plus 20B is equal to 480. Okay. What we are saying from here is 2800C plus 20B is equal to 480. And if we divide by the common 20, we are saying 140C plus B is equal to 24. This is our fourth equation. Likewise, when I just do equation 3 upon equation 2, when you're producing 60 articles compared to 40, the increase in production cost is 50%, which is a ratio of 3/2. So let us do equation 3 upon equation 2 here and equate that to a ratio of 3/2. So let's do equation 3 upon equation 2. That is 3600C plus 60B plus 240 upon 1600C plus 40B plus 240. and this ratio is 3/2. So again, if we cross multiply, we are saying 7200C plus 120B plus 480 is equal to 4800C plus 120B plus 720, which means we get the value of C from here. We are saying 2400C is equal to 240. 2400C is equal to 240, which means C is equal to 240 upon 2400, 1/10. We've got the value of C. If we substitute the value of C in equation number 4, 140 into 1/10 is 14. We are saying 14 plus B is equal to 24, which means B is equal to 10. So our cost of production was not only dependent on the unit, but also there were two unknown constants over there. We have got rid of the constants. Now, is this clear? If this is clear, everybody, we can put this in the equation and then see how we can, what is the appropriate value of X that can maximize the profit. So has everybody understood how we've got the values of B and C here? Has everybody understood how we've got the values of B and C? Just put a Y, a yes in the chat box if you've understood. If you've not understood, put no, put your doubt, and we'll discuss. So we've got the values of B and C. Okay, great. So now let us just put these values in the equation and see what is actually the cost of production. So the cost of production, putting C as 1/10 and B as 10, the cost of production is going to be X square by 10, putting C as 1/10, plus 10X, putting B as 10, plus 240. This is the cost of production. And the sales, as they've told us, it is 30 rupees, right? So 30 rupees for 1 unit, but here we are producing X unit. So total sales or total selling price is going to be 30X. Okay. Now from here, obviously, we are going to maximize profit using the value of X. But there is one more thing we could have done over here. In case you were not able to solve beyond this, you could have used the options. So basically, you could have just used a particular option, let's say 70, okay, and substituted X for 70 or 70 for X and calculated cost and sales and profit. And then you could have tried with the next option 100 and then 130. So let us say that when I try these values, 100 profit comes out to be more than 70 and also more than 130. Then I know that 100 will be the number of unit at which my profit is going to maximize. So putting X as 100, I will get my answer to both the questions because I will know my profit also once I know my sales and my cost. So using options was also a good idea. Now, if the fifth option was none of these, then we would not have been able to use the options. But the fifth option is not none of these. It is cannot be determined. Now, because we've got the cost of production in terms of X, total sales in terms of X, it can very well be determined. So cannot be determined is not the answer. Using the options, we could have seen that X equal to 70, 100, 130, 150, how much profit am I getting? And accordingly, decided that what number of unit is giving us maximum profit. Okay. Otherwise, what is a more technical or a more mathematical way of doing this? We've got the total cost. We've got the total sales. What is profit? Profit is nothing but total sales minus total cost. 30X minus X square by 10 plus 10X plus 240. So this is nothing but minus X square by 10. 30 minus 10 is 20X minus 240. This is the profit. Okay. Firstly, how do we know whether this is going to give us maximum profit? This is a quadratic expression, right? So how do you know that it is going to give you maximum profit or minimum profit? So if a quadratic equation or expression is of the form ax square plus bx plus c, if a, which is the coefficient of x square, is positive, then the quadratic expression gives you a minima, it gives you minimum value. Okay. But if a is negative, then the quadratic expression gives you a maxima, it gives you maximum value. So if you just compare this expression that we've got with the standard quadratic, we can say that over here, the coefficient of x square is minus 1/10, right? Which means a is minus 1/10, which is a negative value. And hence we know that this profit is going to be maximum profit. How do you get this maximum profit? See, there are multiple ways of getting maximum value of a quadratic expression. So one method over here is obviously differentiation, if you know that. Another method of doing this is the graph. Another method of doing this is the formula. But since this is here we are discussing profit and loss and not so much quadratic, we wouldn't get into any of the three methods. So we will use a basic method which everybody is supposed to know, which is completion of squares, which is the fourth way of finding maximum or minimum value of a quadratic expression. So I've got a quadratic expression. Let us try to write this as a perfect square. Okay, so if I just take LCM, what is, and I just take this 1 by 10 outside. So basically what we have is minus 1 by 10 into x square minus 200x plus 2400. So I have just taken LCM of these denominators were 1 and 1. So I've just taken LCM of 10, 1 and 1 and then taken that minus 1 by 10 outside. Which means because minus 1 by 10 is a constant, okay, this is what I need to find the value for, right? So basically this is something I can write as a whole square. We can write this using the a minus b whole square is equal to a square minus 2ab plus b square. Using this formula, I can just focus on these two terms and say that, okay, this is nothing but x minus 100 whole square. If I do x minus 100 whole square, what do I get? I get x square, I get minus 200x, right? So this is x minus 100 whole square. Now, when I do x minus 100 whole square, I get x square, I get minus 200x, but I get plus 10,000. I get plus 10,000, but here I have plus 2,400, which means because this my constant is getting changed. To keep it unchanged, my constant is 2,400, but here 100 square is giving me 10,000, which means if I subtract 7,600 from here, then the values will be same. This is how I can write it, right? Now, what is the fact we are going to use here? Because we have completed a square, we are going to make use of the fact that any real square is always positive or non-negative, which means x minus 100 whole square will be greater than equal to 0. X minus 100 whole square will be greater than equal to 0, which means the minimum value of this will be 0. It is greater than equal to 0. When this is 0, what is the value of my expression? Because this is 0, this is minus 7,600. Minus 7,600 into minus 1 by 10. Minus into minus is plus, and the zeros get cancelled. This is 760 rupees. This is 760 rupees. And when is this 760 rupees the profit? When x minus 100 is 0, which means when x is 100. So how many units should Mr. David produce daily? He should produce 100 units. And in that case, what is the profit? It is 760 rupees. That is the maximum profit. That is the maximum profit that he can get if this is the condition between selling price and cost price. So if you compare this with the first two questions, not only did the first two questions have multiple ways of solving, but they were simpler questions. Okay, if I was not able to think of any, let's say hacks or shortcuts or using options, etc., just assuming the cost price as 100 rupees would have done the trick for me in both the questions. But here it is slightly more technical question. So we do get both type of questions. This was the purpose of selecting this question was just to show you that at times you can get a profit and loss question where we may not be able to use the shortcuts. So then we have to solve by equations, right? Question is not very difficult if along with profit and loss concepts, my concepts of quadratic are clear. Okay. Has everybody understood this? Then let me know. Say a yes on the chat and we can go ahead. If you all have, if you have not understood, see, you can always ask your doubt. So if there is something you haven't understood, just put your doubt in the chat and we will discuss. If you've understood, let me know. We can go on to the next question. Has everybody understood this? Any doubt, anybody? Okay, great. So let's go to the next question here. This is the next question. This is CAT 24, slot 3. And what does this say? Gopi marks a price on a product in order to make 20% profit. Ravi gets 10% discount on this marked price and thus he saves 15 rupees. Then the profit in rupees made by Gopi by selling the product to Ravi is, okay. Let us again see if question can be done in more than one way. So let's first go by the X method. Gopi marks a price on a product in order to make 20% profit. Let's say the cost price is X. Okay. Then, because making 20% profit, how much will be the profit? 20% of X, which is 1 by 5X. How much will be the selling price? Its cost price, or in fact, it is marked price, not selling price. Gopi marks a product. How much is the marked price? So marked price is x plus x by 5, 6 by 5x. Okay, so if he's produced at x rupees, marking at 6 by 5x. Ravi gets 10% discount on this mark price. How much is the discount? It's 10% of 6 by 5x. There is nothing but 3 by 25x. Right? This is already given to us. It's given to us that Ravi gets 10% discount on this and thus saves rupees 15, which means this is equal to 15 rupees. This is already given to us. So if I just cross multiply, we can say x is nothing but 125 rupees, which means 125 rupees was the cost price. 125 rupees was the cost price, right? How much was the mark price? 6 by 5 times of 125, that is 150 rupees. And on this 150 rupees, he has got 15 rupees discount. So how much is the selling price? It's 135 rupees. Cost price is 125. Selling price is 135. How much is the profit? It's 10 rupees. 10 rupees is the required answer. Method number 1. Now, because method 2 is very similar, only difference, I'm not taking cost price as X, taking cost price 100. So let's first have a look at that over here, and then we will see if there are more ways of solving this. So if cost price is 100 rupees, okay, then how much is the profit? It's 20% of 100 rupees, which is 20 rupees. Now, when we say profit is 20 rupees, please remember that it's not the actual profit. It is the planned profit, okay? Because this is the profit that he intended to get, but because he offered discount, he didn't get that profit. As you can see, he actually got only 10 rupees profit. So the intended profit is 20 rupees. Then what is the mark price? So mark price is 100 plus 20. That is 120 rupees, right? And on this, he is offering 10% discount. Now, earlier also in one of the questions, we saw that when we were taking all the data in percentages, we didn't focus on that 5 rupees because that was an absolute value. So again, I will not really reduce 15 rupees from here. I'm going to focus on the fact that he got 10% discount rather than 15 rupees discount. So how much will be the discount in that case? Discount is going to be 10% of 120 rupees. That is nothing but 12 rupees. Now, the thing is, did Ravi get 12 rupees discount? No, he got 15 rupees discount. So what does it mean? It means my assumption is not correct. I just need to use cross multiplication. I can say when discount is 12 rupees, then the cost price is 100 rupees. But the given discount is 15 rupees. So how much is the cost price? And we cross multiply 15 into 100 upon 12, and we get the same answer. We get the same 125 rupees as the cost price. So once you get the cost price as 125 rupees, okay, you can easily just follow the same process. That cost price 125, mark price will be 150, selling price after 15 rupees discount 135, profit 10 rupees. So exactly more or less the same methods. Only thing is they try to avoid using variables in arithmetic. Try to use 100 where the where the cost price is unknown instead of using X and getting into fractions and equations. Okay, so 10 rupees is the answer. This is the second way of solving. Now, can I do anything else here? Yes, there's one more thing we can do. So there's one more thing that we can do. So let's look at the third way of solving. The only value that is known to us in the question is this. So we can start from here also, right? What is Ravi's saving? It is 15 rupees. Why does he make this saving? Because he gets 10% discount, which means this 15 rupees is 10% of the mark price. So you can see that here I'm not really assuming anything. No X, no 100. Directly, I will know how much is the mark price. How much is the mark price? The mark price is 15 into 10, 150 rupees, right? And to get this mark price, Gopi had marked up by 20%. If you mark up by 20%, then your mark price is nothing but 120% of the cost price. So which means how much is the cost price? How much is the cost price? 150 into 100 upon 120. So without using any assumptions also, we can get the answer. Mark price is 150. Cost price is 125. On the mark price, 15 rupees discount was offered, which means selling price is 135. How much is the profit? 10 rupees. 10 rupees is the answer. This is the third way of solving the question without any assumption. So we can assume cost price is X. We can assume cost price 100. We can also get the answer using the known value in the question, which is a discount of 15 rupees. Now, there's one more thing we could have done in this question, but these three methods are what by and large I can use in most of the similar questions. The fourth method we may or may not be able to. In this particular case, we can use that because the options are such. What is it? What is the fourth way of solving? See, you are doing a markup of 20%. So if I say cost price 100, your mark price is 120, and then you are giving 10% discount on that, selling price 108. Which means basically, if I just look at this in terms of percentages, I can say that the profit that Gopi is making is 8%. 100 rupees cost price, 108 rupees selling price. So is making profit of 8%. Okay. Whereas the discount that Ravi is getting is 10%. Discount of Ravi is 10%. So obviously, profit is 8%, discount is 10%. Profit is on the cost price and discount is on the mark price. Now we know that mark price is after markup. So mark price will be more than cost price, right? Which means Ravi is getting a discount of 10%, which is already more than 8% on a higher value. Ravi is getting a discount of 10%, which is more than 8% on a higher value. 8% on CP, 10% on MP, which is already more than CP. So MP is more than CP and 10% is also more than 8%, which means basically what I can say from this is whatever discount Ravi got, the numerical value has to be definitely more than whatever profit Gopi made. And there was only one option that was less than 15 rupees, and hence that has to be the answer. So the fourth way of solving this would be simply making use of the options. As I said, this is not going to work in all the questions because if the examiner is a little bit more careful, probably he'll put two or more options which are less than 15 rupees. But in case he has put only one, then I can just use this basic knowledge of discount and profit and mark the answer right away. So option 2 is the answer here. Now, if this is clear, please let me know, everybody, and we can go on to the next question. Is this clear, everyone? Does anybody have any doubts? So we've seen 4 different ways. Even if you call X and 100 as the same method, at least 3 different ways we have seen, right? So are the 3 methods clear, everybody? Does anyone have any doubt? If you have a doubt, let me know. Anyone? Any doubts here? Okay, if you've understood, just give me a yes or even a Y will do on the chat and we can go ahead. If everybody has understood, just give me a yes on the chat and we can go ahead. Has everybody understood? Okay, great. So let's go to the next question. This is our next question. Now, this is CAT 23 slot 3 question. A lot of students feel that, false weight questions are very difficult to answer. Okay, so let us see if it is actually as difficult and if there is only one way of solving this, or even over here we have multiple ways of solving the question. So let's go to the question. What does it say? A merchant purchases a cloth at a rate of rupees 100 per meter and receives 5 centimeter length of cloth free for every 100 centimeter length of cloth purchased by him. He sells the same cloth at a rate of rupees 110 per meter, but cheats his customers by giving 95 centimeter length of cloth for every 100 centimeter length of cloth purchased by the customers. If the merchant provides a 5% discount, the resulting profit earned by him as a percentage, how much is that? Okay, let's first solve by making usual assumptions. So the rate is already given, so that I don't need to assume. So let us just use the cross multiplication method here. It says merchant purchases cloth at the rate of 100 rupees per meter or per 100 centimeter, but he gets 5 centimeters extra. So basically in 100 rupees, the merchant has bought 100 centimeter cloth. Okay. But what he got is 105 centimeter. Okay. Then when he wants to sell, he claims a selling price or mark price, let us say, he claims 110. So mark price is 110. But on this 110, he is offering 5% discount. So how much will be the discount? discount is going to be 5% of 110 rupees, 5.5 rupees, which means he's claiming to sell this, or he's actually selling this at 110 minus 5.5, 104.5 rupees, right? He's selling this at 104.5 rupees, but there is something more in the question. He cheats his customers by giving 95 centimeter for 100 centimeter, which means if suppose somebody comes and says that I want to buy 100 centimeter cloth. Okay. So this guy is claiming a mark price of 110, but then he's offering a discount of 5.5, and hence he's giving that 100 centimeter cloth for 104.5 rupees as far as the customer is concerned. But actual quantity that he is given, actual quantity that he gives is 95 centimeter. Okay. So can I say this is his sale? No. Why? Because he has sold 95 centimeters, but he acquired 105, which means there is 10 centimeter more he's going to sell at the same rate, right? So again, I can use cross multiplication. I can say that when he's selling 95 centimeter, he makes 104.5 rupees. Okay. So if he sells 105 centimeter, which is the quantity he will sell because that is what he acquired, then how much money does he raise? 105 into 104.5 upon 95, right? This 115.5. So if you see, this was the cost and this is the final sales. How much is the profit? It's 15.5 rupees, and because my cost price was 100, it is in percentage also is the same 15.5%. Option 2, 15.5% is the answer. Okay. Now, if everybody has understood this method, let me know, and we can see if there were any other methods, or is this the only way of solving? So if you have all understood this method, just give me a yes on the chat. A yes, a thumbs up, a Y, anything would do. And we can go ahead and see if there are more ways of solving this. So has everybody understood this? Has everyone understood this way of solving? Okay, great. So let us see if there are any more ways of solving this question. If you see, there are a lot of consecutive changes that are taking place here. 100 centimeters, he is getting 5 centimeters free. Okay. Then he is marking up 100 rupees, he is marking up as 110. So this is the first change. Then this is the second change. Okay. And then he is cheating by giving 95 centimeters. This is the third change. And then he is also offering a 5% discount. This is the fourth change. So basically there are 4 consecutive changes here. Now, when consecutive changes are taking place, we can make use of the multiplicative factor, right? So making use of multiplicative factor, we can get the final price easily in terms of the initial price, right? And if we can, let's say, pair these consecutive changes as 2 and 2 changes, then we can also look at the most useful formula from percentage, which is something we call the AB formula, which is nothing but the result of the multiplicative factors only. So let us first focus on multiplicative factor. If you see 100 rupees, 100 centimeter is what is supposed to buy, but he gets 5 centimeter extra. So 5 centimeters for 100 rupees. How much profit does that generate? 1 by 20, 5 by 100, or 1 by 20, which means my first multiplicative change or multiplicative factor here is 1 plus 1 by 20, 21 by 20. What about the second multiplicative factor? He sells the cloth at 110 rupees per meter, right? So something that is got for 100 rupees per meter, selling it for 110 rupees. The profit over here is 10%. The profit over here is 10%, right? So that is nothing but, if you see 10 plus 1, 11 by 10. 11 by 10. This is the second consecutive change, right? Then what is the third change? He cheats his customers by giving 95 centimeters. So again, this is a profit for him. He's taking money of 100 centimeters, but he's giving you 95 centimeters, which means on every 95 centimeters, he's saving 5 centimeters. So what is his profit? On every 95 centimeters, he's saving 5 centimeters. So he's incurring the cost of 95 and his profit is 5 centimeters. So what is the multiplicative factor here? It's 1 plus 1 by 19. It's 20 by 19. And finally, he's offering 5% discount. So this is the only one which is not a positive. Discount means you are reducing the value. So 5% discount means 1 minus 5 by 100. So what is the multiplicative factor for this? 20 minus 1, 19 by 20. The resultant product of all these multiplicative factors with the original cost price is going to give me the final selling price, right? So if you see, some of these get, in fact, you can see that the third and fourth multiplicative change negate each other. Okay, we can understand also logically how. See, I mean, he is giving you 95 centimeter. When you pay him for 100 centimeter, giving you 95 centimeter. Okay, let us keep this aside for the time being. And let us say that you're paying him for 100 centimeter and he's giving you 100 centimeter only. Then on that 100 centimeter is offering 5% discount. So offering 5% discount means that out of 100 centimeter cloth, for 5 centimeters of the cloth probably is not charging you money and is only charging you for 95 centimeters. Which means if he's charging you for 95 centimeters, he is giving you 95 centimeters. Which means from the third and fourth change, actually it does not impact at all. 95 centimeter is what he charges you for. 95 centimeter is what he gives you, right? Which is something we can see from multiplicative factors also. They negate each other, they get cancelled out. So basically, what is the final value here? 21 into 11, 231 upon 200 into 100. That is nothing but 115.5. 115.5. And what was the cost price? It is 100. How much is the profit? 15.5%. This is the second way of solving using multiplicative factors. Now, as I said, the result of multiplicative factors is the AB formula. So what does the AB formula say? That if we are making two consecutive changes of A and B percent, okay, then the resultant percentage change is nothing but A plus B plus AB by 100. Now here we can say that there are four changes. Can I use this? Even if there are more than two changes, even if there were four changes, we would have used it on the first two changes, last two changes, and then on the result of those two changes. But as you have seen over here, in this case, I don't really need to, because the last two changes are really not impacting the value at all. So which means I can just focus on the first two changes and get my answer. So what is happening in the first two changes? 100 rupees per meter is getting 5 centimeters extra, which means 5% profit. So A is 5%. Okay. And 100 rupees per meter, he's marking that up as 110 rupees per meter. So that is 10%. So B is 10%. So 5 plus 10 plus 5 into 10, 50 upon 100. So 5 plus 10 is 15 and 50 upon 100 is 0.5, which means this is nothing but 15.5% profit. This is the simplest or the shortest way of solving this question. Now, if you have understood all the three methods, please let me know so we can go ahead and look at the next question. If there is any doubt, you can let me know that also. Okay. If there is any doubt, you can know that. You can let me know that. If you understood, great. Just give me a Y, just give me a yes, give me a thumbs up here. Let me know that you've understood in the chat. Has everybody understood? Any doubt, anyone? Any doubt, anybody? Okay, great, fantastic. So let's have a look at the next question then. Nobody has a doubt. Let's go on to the next question. So this is the next question. And you can see that this is CAT 25 slot 1. So CAT 25, basically each of the three slots did have a profit and loss question. Most of them were equation-based questions, not too many methods that we could apply. But since these are the latest CAT questions, I have included them. So let's have a look at the first question here. It says a shopkeeper offers a discount of 22% on the mark price of each chair and gives 13 chairs to a customer for the discounted price of 12 chairs to earn a profit of 26% on the transaction. Cost price is a known value and hence we don't need to assume it. Then the mark price in rupees of each chair is. Okay, so let us see if we can use more than one method or there is only one way of solving this. So first and foremost, the cost price is known. Cost price of each chair is given to us. It is 100 rupees. So he has given to the customer is given 13 chairs. So while you may not charge for the 13 chair because you're giving that complimentary, cost is something you still incur. If you produce an article, you do incur the cost, right? So what is the cost price of 13 chairs? So cost price of 13 chairs is going to be 13 into 100. That is 1300 rupees. Now, profit is something that you make on the cost. Discount is something that you give on the mark price. So mark price is not known to us, cost price is known. So his total cost price 1300 rupees. On this, he's making 26% profit. So how much is the profit? It is 26% of 1300 rupees, which is 338 rupees. So how much is his selling price? It is 1300 plus 338. Okay, it is 1638 rupees. 1638 is the total sales. Okay. Now, please remember that this is the total sales of 12 chairs because 13 chair he offered free. 13 chair was offered free. So this is the total selling price of 12 chairs. And on each of the 12 chairs, you have given 22% discount. So which means basically first and foremost, if I divide this by 12, we can get the selling price of each chair, right? And then this is at 22% discount. So one thing one can say here is this 1638 is nothing but 12 chairs sold at 78% of the mark price of each chair, right? So now if I just solve for MP, I can get the mark price from here. So mark price of each chair is nothing but 1638 into 100 upon 12 into 78, right? So let us see. Okay, so 700 by 4, that is nothing but 175 rupees. Cost price of each chair 100 rupees. Mark price of each chair 175 rupees. Acha, mark price only we need. Okay, fine. So 175 rupees is the answer. Now, if this is clear, let me know and we can see if there is any other way of solving this question. Okay, if everybody has understood this, let me know and we can see if there is any other way of answering this question. One more request is that when we are discussing a question, you have any doubt, let me know in that question only. If we have gone ahead and you are asking me doubt of the previous question, if time permits, we may be able to come back to that later on. Otherwise, you'll have to ask that doubt in the chat. So below the video, you can just put your doubt in the chat and we will discuss. We will answer your question over there. But just now, if you have any doubt in this question, you can ask me. So when we are discussing a question, you have a doubt, ask me just now. Any doubt in this, anybody? Okay, so great. One way of solving. Let's see if there's any other method of solving this. On 12 of the chairs, he is giving 22% discount. Right? On the 13th chair, we can say that he's given 100% discount. So I'm again going to use the same logic, the same method that we used in one of the questions earlier when somebody was offering 60 articles at 40% discount, right? So we can say that 12 chairs, 22% discount and one chair, 100% discount. I'm just calculating the weighted average. So what is the average discount offered? What is the average discount offered? P1 Q1 plus P2 Q2 upon Q1 plus Q2. 22 into 12. 264 plus 100. 364 upon 13. 28% discount. You can see that the shopkeepers never really offered 28% discount. He has offered 22% and one chair is offered free. Then what is this 28% representing? It is representing the average discount per chair. It is representing the average discount per chair. Average discount after giving that free chair, average discount works out to 28% per chair. So 28% is the discount. Now, if you sell something at 28% discount, that means selling price is 72% of the mark price. 100 minus 28, 72% of the mark price, right? Also, we know one more thing. Because of whatever selling price he finally had, because of that, he made 26% profit. If you sell something at 26% profit, that means your selling price is 126% of the cost price. right? This is selling price. This is also selling price, which means this is the same. Which means this is the same. So what are we saying? We are saying 72% of mark price is equal to 126% of cost price, which means we are saying mark price upon cost price is equal to 126 upon 72 or 7 by 4. Is any of the values known to us? Yes, cost price is known. So if I just substitute cost price, we are saying mark price is equal to 7 by 4 into 100, which is nothing but 175 rupees, which is also what we got using the first method. So 175 rupees is the required answer here. So you can see that, even though CAT 25, most of the questions were, let's say, more technical or equation-based questions, still there were questions that could have been solved by more than one method. So I've shown you two methods here. One is we actually calculated all the values, 1638 and everything. And here you can see we've just made use of the ratios to get the answer. So 175 rupees is the required answer. Fine. Any doubts in this? Anybody? Any doubt? Anyone? If you have a doubt, please ask me just now before we move on to the next question. Any doubt? Anyone? Okay, great. So let's have a look at the next question. And this is CAT 25, slot 2. And what does this say? An item with a cost price of rupees 1650 is sold at a certain discount on a fixed mark price to earn a profit of 20% on the cost price. If the discount was doubled, the profit would have been rupees 110. The rate of discount in percentage at which the profit percentage would be equal to the rate of discount is nearest to. While the question may not have multiple methods, at least multiple methods that come readily to the mind, if you think hard, maybe you can come across a shortcut in this. And then we are also going to look at another CAT 25 question, where again, when you look at the question, you just feel that traditional method is the only way of solving that. But still, once you made the equations, probably there are different ways we can approach that equation. So it says an item with a cost price of 1650, he wants to make a profit of 20%. Okay. So what is 20% of 1650? So profit will be 20% of 1650. That is 330 rupees. Which means, what is the selling price? 1650 plus 330, 1980 rupees. Right? And the selling price is after a certain discount. They are saying that if the discount is doubled, then the profit would have been 110 rupees only, which means if we double the discount, then the new selling price will be 1760 rupees. 1760 rupees. How much is the difference between the two selling prices? 220 rupees. Okay. And why this difference? Because we are doubling the discount. We are doubling the discount. That means in the first case, our discount would have been 220 rupees. And now we are giving 220 rupees more, and hence the profit reduces to 110. So which means from here I can say that initially the discount offered is 220 rupees. Initial discount offered is 220 rupees. So the selling price is known to us. The discount is known to us, which means we can get the mark price. How much is the mark price? It is nothing but selling price plus discount, which means the item actually cost 1650 rupees. That is already given to us. It was marked at 2200 rupees. And then a certain discount was offered on this, which was 220 rupees, which is 10% of the mark price. And it was being sold at 1980. Instead of 10%, if the discount was changed to 20%, it would have been sold at 1760 rupees and profit would have been 110 rupees only. Now from here, the question says, the rate of discount in percentage at which profit percent and discount rate both are equal is nearest to. So let us say that this rate is P percent. Okay. So what is P percent profit on 1650 rupees? So P percent of 1650 rupees will be P upon 100 into 1650, which is nothing but 33 by 2P. Okay, this is the profit. Right? What is P percent discount on 2200 rupees? It is P by 100 into 2200. That is 22P. right? What is selling price? What is selling price? It is cost price plus profit. Okay, 33 by 2, 16.5. It's cost price plus profit, or it is selling price minus discount. Right? This is also selling price. Sorry, mark price minus discount. This is also selling price. This is also selling price. So which means we can solve this now. We can say that 22 plus 16.5, 38.5p is equal to 550. So how much is P? P is equal to 550 upon 38.5 or 5500 upon 385, or one can say 100 upon 7, which is nothing but 14.28. So nearest percentage will be 14. So this is the answer. And here I've just used the formula for percentage profit and percentage discount. Okay, but once we get to this 2200 rupees, maybe there is something more also we can do. So what is the other thing that we can do here other than actually calculating using the formula? So this much part would basically remain the same, getting to the mark price. Once we get to the mark price, there's something more we can do. Again, I'm going to go back to the lever rod diagram that we saw in one of the questions. So we can see that the cost price is 1650 and the selling price is 2200, right? Which means this ratio is 3:4. This is the mark price, sorry, not the selling price, right? Now, since the percentage of profit and the percentage of discount is going to be same, and the selling price, obviously, whether you calculate it from cost price or from mark price, the selling price is going to be the same selling price, which means this ratio is going to be in the ratio of 4:3, right? This ratio is going to be 4:3, right? So cost price is known, mark price is known, that ratio is 3:4, and we can split this or we can reverse this ratio as 4:3. So you can see that how much discount does he need to offer to get to the value where the percentage of profit and percentage of discount will be same. So that is nothing but 3 parts out of 7 in this range of 550. 1650 to 2200, how much is the range? It is 550. So basically 550 is something I need to split in 7 parts, out of which 3 parts is my discount. So how much is the discount? 3 parts out of 7 in 550. What is the percentage discount? Discount upon mark price in 200, right? So this is also something that we can do to calculate the answer. Okay. Um, so yeah, again, you can see that this much part of the solution, when we are calculating the marked price using the cost price given and the profit given, everything, that much part is the same. After that, one may choose to actually use the formula for profit percentage and discount percentage and equate the two, or one can also use the ratios. Like marked cost price is to mark price ratio is 3:4, right? So which means the distance between 1650 and 2200 as far as selling price is concerned, to split that in the ratio 4:3. And that is how we are going to get the selling price, which represents equal profit percentage and discount percentage. Okay. Fine. Any doubts? Anybody? Is there any other way of solving? See, I mean, readily, these are the only methods that come to mind. If you think a little bit, maybe you can come across some other method. But I think that when you are in exam conditions, probably these are the only methods that come to mind. So CAT 24, I showed you that merchant question. We did discuss one Gopi question and all. There were multiple ways of solving. When you look at the question, immediately you know that, okay, we can do this by multiple methods. CAT 25, basically, there are just one or two methods which come to mind when you look at the question. So maybe the question was slightly more technical in form, but as long as you know the one method, even if it is calculating the profit percentage, even if that method is known to you, it's fine. It's perfectly all right. Right. So now let's just look at the next question here. So next question will be, okay, just give me a second here. Yeah, actually, yes. In fact, yeah, it will be 4:7 only. So I think I wrote 3:7. I think that cost price and mark price ratio we got as, let me just check, 1650 by 2200. So that is 3:4. And because the discount percentage is the same, yes, in the same ratio, we need to offer discount and profit. So yes, it will be 4 parts out of 7. Okay. I think I wrote 3 parts out of 7. So yeah, so the discount is going to be 4 parts out of 7 from 550 rupees. And the mark price is 2200. Okay, fine. Yes. So this gets cancelled. So 1 by 7 into 100, which is 14.2%. Yeah. Okay. So which means ratio can be used. Okay, I might have written reverse as somebody pointed out. So it can be used. And the thing is that this will be 4 out of 7. It's not like ratio method can't be used. You can use it, you'll get the same answer. So 14% still the answer here. Okay, let's have a look at the last question for today, which is basically CAT 25 slot 3 question. I'm trying to cover all questions of CAT 25. Now, this had some time-taking calculations, as you can see from here. Okay, and not too many shortcuts. We will have to do the calculations. We can't avoid them. So what does this say? The monthly sales of a product from January to April are given 120, 135, 150, and 165 unit respectively. The cost price of the product is given 240 rupees per unit, and a fixed mark price was used for the product in all the 4 months. Discounts of 20%, 10%, and 5% were given on the mark price per unit in January, February, and March respectively, while no discounts were given in the month of April. If the total profit from January to April was 1,38,825, then the mark price per unit in rupees was. Okay, let's first calculate the total cost price. So what will be the total cost price? The cost price per unit is already known to us. It's 240 rupees. And how many unit have we sold? 120 plus 135, that is 255 plus 150. That is 405 plus 165, 570 unit. So 570 unit at the cost of 240 rupees per unit. So how much is the total cost price? Let's calculate how much does this come to. 1,36,800. 1,36,800 rupees is the total cost price. The profit is already known to us. So total profit is nothing but 1,38,825, which means we can find the total selling price. How much is the total selling price? Is the sum of cost price and profit, which means 2,75,625. This is the total selling price. Right. Now we have been asked about the mark price. So if I look at this in terms of mark price, in January, 120 unit were sold. Okay. But they were sold at 20% discount. So what is 20% of 120? It's 24, which means I can say that instead of charging 120 unit price, they were only charged 120 unit selling price basically is nothing but 96 unit mark price. 20% discount on 120, that is 24. So 120 minus 24, 96 unit mark price, right? In February, 135 unit were sold, but they were offered 10% discount. 10% of 135 is 13.5. So basically we can say that they were only charged 121.5 unit ka mark price, right? In the month of March, 150 unit were sold, but they were given 5% discount. 5% of 157.5. So we can say that they were only charged 142.5 unit mark price. And in the month of April, 165 unit were sold and they were not offered any discount, which means the selling price that they paid for 165 unit was actually the mark price of 165 unit, right? So in terms of mark price total, how much have they paid? Let's just add this up. 96 plus 121.5, that is 217.5 plus 142.5, that is 360 plus 165. They have paid 525 unit ka mark price. And that is the total sales that they have raised, which means 525 MP is equal to 275,625, which means how much is MP? MP is nothing but 275,625 upon 525. Let's divide by 25 first of all. So this is 11. Okay, and again it cancels by 21 itself. So basically they have sold, or the mark price per unit is 525 rupees, which means this number that we got actually over here, it was the square of 525. You can see that we are dividing by 525. Answers is still 525 only. So this is a slightly technical question. No shortcuts that come to mind as such. Calculation based, we have to do the calculation. Yes, instead of using the actual unit 120, 135, 150, 165, we could have used the ratio 8 is to 9 is to 10 is to 11. But other than that, there are not too many shortcuts or tricks that come to the mind. Even when you use the ratio, because instead of average sales or anything, the total profit is given, probably the ratio might also not help us much. So basically, we have to do the calculations here. They seem to be unavoidable at least. But once you know what you need to do, question's not very difficult. I have just written MP, MP, MP. If you want, you can, you can consider that mark price as X. So if MP is confusing you, what is this 120 SP is equal to 96 MP? You can say mark price of one unit is X rupees. So 120 unit total mark price will be 120X, and then we are offering 20% discount on that. That is 24X. So what is the sales? 120X minus 24X, that is 96X. So this is where, if I write like this, probably I can save some time. But if this confuses you, you can just consider mark price as X and solve in terms of X. So this gets us the final answer. This is our last question for today. Now, if anybody has any doubts, please let me know. Any doubt, anyone in this, either of these? Okay, great. So if you see earlier also, I've covered some profit and loss questions. I've shown you multiple ways, but this time I thought that I'll go with a mix of questions where there are multiple methods and there aren't. Because if you look at CAT 25 questions, some of them didn't really have too many methods. So it is very important to know all the shortcuts and the hacks and everything, but also know that, not every question will have shortcuts. So one obviously needs to know the technical way also of solving. Um, Fine. So this was our last question. The next session, again, we are going to come up with previous year questions of any topics. If you have any doubts just now, you can ask me later on. If you come across any doubts in any of the questions, you can put it in the chat below the video and we will answer you over there. Okay. And the important thing, as I always say, just keep learning. That's the most important thing. There's no limit to how much you can add, right? Fine, guys. Thank you very much. I hope the session added some value to your preparation. In case you have anything you want to share, any doubts, anything, put it on the chat and we'll try to answer you over there. Okay.